OK, new research suggests New Zealand has a whole other economy, a place where a lot of money changes hands but no tax is paid. The International Tax Justice Network has put a figure on it. They reckon about $7 billion in revenue is lost every year. Boy, $7 billion, you could do a lot with that. But what does measuring it do? Does it help us address the problem? Bernard Hickey from interest.co.nz joins us now. Good morning, Bernard.
Good morning.
OK, so $7 billion in lost revenue, about $20 billion is this black hole economy. Does that sound about right to what you think and what others think?
There is a lot happening under the surface in the cash job economy, particularly since the advent of GST and the increase in the GST rate. A lot of people are looking at, how can we save a little bit of money here? When you've got a stressed economy, particularly for small businesses, the first thing you do is look for ways to reduce your costs, and one of those is to quietly not tell the taxman what you're up to.
Is this a way of life in New Zealand? I know, was it Kevin Milne rails against this? It is a cultural thing in some ways, isn't it?
In some areas, yes. And when you have a government which has gotten quite large in the last 4 or 5 years in terms of the size of the economy, people are wondering, can I contribute to that by paying the taxes that I'm supposed to pay? So there's a lot of concern around paying those taxes if you've really stretched for money, and it's the small business part of the economy which is really struggling at the moment.
So we should be cracking down on that harder?
Well, there's some really big questions to ask about how we collect taxes and how engaged people are in their community. Do they feel guilty for not paying their taxes? Because ultimately that means poorer public health services, education, all of those things, or worse, more borrowing, which we have to pass on to our kids.
Yeah, because the thing is, we all hate paying taxes, but we all have to do it. Should there be more stigma for those who don't?
Yes, and better systems to catch people, because this is not just something that's happening at the lower socioeconomic end of the equation. You have an awful lot of people, the rich ones if you like, who aren't paying their fair share of taxes because they put a lot of their assets into family trusts.
This is the point, they have the means to hire flash accountants to figure out ways to get around it.
That's right, and we've seen a whole group of people in the middle of New Zealand's income bands use family trusts and other things to avoid paying tax, and also to get services and things like nursing home fees discounted, that sort of thing. So that there is a culture of that in New Zealand. We don't like paying our taxes, and there needs to be a national debate about how we support our government and how connected we are to our government.
That's where things like ideas that you've promoted in the past, the land tax could help, a sort of broad-based tax where you can't get away from it, basically.
That's right. If you own the land in the same way that you pay your rates, you'll have to pay that land tax. And particularly for those people who were investing in land to avoid paying tax, i.e. no capital gains tax. So there's some really big questions here about who pays our tax. Should it only be those people who pay PAYE, or people who do the right thing and pay over the counter with their credit card or their FPOS and therefore have to pay GST? And it will become more of a question as we go forward in the next 10 to 20 years. Our budget will be under a lot of stress from people retiring and going into the healthcare system. And, of course, internationally with low growth, we're seeing this question addressed in the likes of Italy and Greece, where they have a really endemic problem of a black economy. And now, all sorts of people are saying, well, let's, for example, get people to pay property taxes when they pay for their power bill. That's what's happening in Greece. So something for us to look at.
Indeed. Thank you very much for your time. Bernard Hickey there from interest.co.nz. Much appreciated.